Hi aspirants, welcome to this week's current affair discussions for geography and environment. In this video, we are going to explain about and discuss about two important topics. The first one, this topic is taken from the Indian Express. The second topic is an editorial from the Hindu. The first topic is why this year, this 2022 is so hot. So, compared to any other year, this year seems to be too hot. So, why this 2022 summer is extremely hot? That is what we are going to discuss. So, the first reason for this is early onset of summer. Summer got in early and unusually long heat waves. And we have already discussed about heat waves. And in this year, we can see long heat waves are coming in. And absence of thunderstorms, or you can simply call it as convectional rainfalls. These are also absent. And March 22, it is India's third warmest March since 1901. So almost after 100 years, we are facing the warmest summer, particularly in the March. That is, the summer is started very badly. Normally, if you see, the western disturbances, that is the wind that flow eastward from the Mediterranean Sea, this wind interacts with the moist winds blowing from the southern India to trigger thunderstorms. So we know, if let us say this is India, from the southern region during summer, generally we'll have this mild southwest wind coming in, which later on during June and July it will convert into the southwest monsoon. But during the summer, the mild winds which come from the south, they interact with the western disturbances coming from the Mediterranean region, and this causes thunderstorms. This is an important point for your prelims. So, do the western disturbances have any impact on the thunderstorms? Usually we used to think, but what we normally learn from the books is these western disturbances cause this mild winter rainfall which enhances or helps in the wheat cultivation. But here you should also know that these western disturbances also help in triggering the thunderstorms during the early phases of summer. Even though 5 western disturbances have been recorded since this March 2022, 3 of these were very feeble or very weak and passed over the extreme northern regions of the country, and they just went. They did not cause any thunderstorms. This is one important reason why this year is extremely hot. The next topic. So this is a huge editorial. The topic is about, can India move away from coal? We know that the highest amount of energy that we produced in the country, more than 65%, is from coal. Now, decline in coal stocks, and that has resulted in power outages in several states, including Tamil Nadu, we know that. And this has made us think about renewable energy potential to fill in for the conventional resources. So we are trying to replace conventional resources. But particularly for Tamil Nadu, why Tamil Nadu is facing extreme power outages when compared to other states is because we are lagging. Recently, in the present times, we are lagging in the switching over to renewable resources, particularly solar resources. We can see some other states in India, in the northern parts, switching faster to solar energy, but Tamil Nadu is lacking in that, and we know that as well. And this editorial is all about that. So, in the recent weeks, coal stocks in more than 100 thermal power plants in India have fell below the critical mark. So, what is this critical mark? It is the 25% of the required stock. If the amount of coal available goes below this 25% of the amount required stock, we call it as it goes below the critical mark. And that too, in 50 plants, it's less than 10%. In 100 plants, it is less than 25%. In 50 plants, it has gone even below, that is less than 10%. And in India, coal accounts for 55% of the energy needs. In our conventional books, we see it is given 65%, but in the current news, the value is actually 55%. And so what is the data given now? So India's share of global energy demand is going to rise to 9% by the year 2035. Now look here, by the year 2035 it is going to rise to 9%. Now it is somewhere around 3%. And by the year 2035 it is going to rise up to 9%. And in that case, if we are facing coal shortage, now we can see that the supply is reducing but the demand is increasing. This is really a bad situation for energy security of India. So we are starting to think about what is the way forward. That is, the simple way forward is, can we move towards other forms of energy, particularly renewable forms of energy such as solar, wind and so on. And also we have to think what are the problems in that. Here, the India Energy Outlook for 2021. This report, it is released by the International Energy Agency. It is released by the International Energy Agency. This one could be a potential prelims question. Please note it down. It is released by the International Energy Agency. It says the energy use in India has doubled since 2000. So it says energy utilization in India has doubled since the year 2000, with 80% of demand still being met by coal, oil and solid biomass. So 80% of the demand comes from coal and oil and solid biomass. So this is what causes 80%. But so that means we are using very less in the case of renewable energy. Now what has happened? Now why there is a shortage? Point number one is pandemic related disruptions. This is point one, pandemic related disruptions. But however, the prevented the stock up of coal. The mining operations were halted to curb the spread of the virus. So during pandemic, we have stopped the mining operations, which had resulted in the reduction in stock up of coal. The second reason is the monsoon. So during the monsoon, mining activities become very difficult. So despite the gradual easing it into the operations, mining activities were hampered during the monsoons. So this has also delayed the arrival of stocks for coal. So next one, what we have to think about here is the household demand for power is picking up, and at the same time summer is arriving. Now this has resulted in a demand supply mismatch. So demand is growing day by day, supply is decreasing. So how supply is decreasing? Because of the pandemic, because of the monsoons and so on. And the energy demand will go up as urbanization and population increase. So which is happening to India right now. India being a developing country, we know the population will increase and we know urbanization will increase. This is also going to increase the energy demand. So what does the IEA, International Energy Agency, say about this? They say, the International Energy Agency say the demand will grow by 5%. So the demand is growing but the supply is decreasing. So the way forward is we have to go for renewable energy resources. So where is India in this renewable energy resources? So there is a report for this. The report of the Central Electricity Authority on optimal generation capacity. See here, what is the report? On optimal generation capacity mix for 2029 and 30. They are talking about the year 2030. They estimate that the share of renewable energy in the gross electricity generation is expected to be around 40% by that year. So by the year 2030, the renewable energy will be 40%. Renewable energy is going to increase. Now, just now we saw that 80% is going to be from coal, biomass and oil. So it is less than 20% in the case of renewable energy. But the report here says by the year 2030, we'll go to 40%. And another thing to notice, a total of 152.90 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity has already been installed in the country. This value you have to know. And because we are planning to increase the value, you have to know the present value. This present value, it is as per this February 2022 data. Now, how do we get this? It includes 50.78 gigawatts from solar power, 40.13 gigawatt from wind power, 10.63 gigawatt from biopower, 4.84 gigawatts from small hydel power, and 46.52 gigawatts from large hydel power. In UPSC, they never ask such values. The one thing you have to know is the share of renewable energy. So we can see that in the share of renewable energy, the first place now goes to solar. Before a few years, it was not the solar, wind was in the first place. Now we can see that solar power has got the first place because every single state is increasing the solar power. Particularly in countries like, particularly in the states like Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and so on. So the second place goes to wind, third power goes to biopower, then it goes to small hydel power, and then the fifth place goes to the large hydel power. This is the chronological arrangement of the participation of renewable energy in the energy security of India. Just keep it in your mind. Solar goes to the first place, wind goes to the second place. And now recently in the Glasgow conference, that is the conference of parties 26, in accordance with the Prime Minister of India's announcement at this COP26, which happened in 2021, UNFCCC, the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy is planning or aspires to install 500 gigawatt of electricity capacity from non-fossil fuels by the year 2030. From all the non-fossil fuels, including wind, solar, bio, everything, hydel, all these things together, we are planning to include 500 gigawatts. So what did we see earlier? We are just in 152 or something. Right now, we are planning for 500 gigawatts by the year 2030. This is what we are trying. Solar and wind energy. Now see here, what are the problems? Can we attain this? So what are the problems here? Solar and wind energy are variable resources. This is the huge problem here. That is, what does variable mean? Solar energy, it will be available during the daytime, but during the night time, you don't find it. And wind energy, during monsoons, they are extremely high. During the other months, you don't find them. And in the coastal regions, wind capacity is more. Wind energy can be generated. But in other interior regions, they cannot be generated. So they are spatially variable. They are time variable and so on. For example, if you take solar energy, it is abundantly available in the summers. But during the monsoon time, wind energy is available, while the solar energy is reduced. So these both are variable. So what is the way here? We have to combine both. We have to somehow combine all the other energy resources. We have to combine solar, we have to combine wind, we have to combine fossil fuels, we have to combine tidal. We should bring up a holistic plan of combining all these things to tackle this variability in the resources. But is that possible? Is that possible? So what can make this possible is transmission and storage. So what is transmission? Maybe you can connect solar energy to the grid. So you have the grid here. So you have the grid. Electricity is passing like this. So what you can do, you have solar panel here. You can connect it to the grid maybe. So what happens during daytime, abundance of energy is obtained from the solar energy. Apart from what is being used in your home, you can upload it to the grid. It keeps traveling. It goes to other places where solar energy is not generated. So you don't waste excess energy. But at the night time, you don't get solar energy. Maybe at that time, you can use conventional forms of energy. But this seems to be sounding very easy, but we have to see there's some problem in this as well. That is where something comes in called as the duck curve. So what is this duck curve? The curve, the graph resembling a duck, the curve is a graphical representation exhibiting the difference between the demand and availability of energy throughout the day. So the word availability of energy means not just solar, it includes everything. So let us try to draw this graph now. So on the y-axis, let us have demand. In the x-axis, we shall have the different times in a day, something like 12 a.m., 3 a.m., at early morning 9 a.m., peak hours like 1 p.m., evening 5 p.m., like that. So across the day, what happens? Let us try and draw this. Now look here, generally what happens is, in the conventional form of energy, during this midnight times, the energy demand is comparatively lesser. And during the peak hours, when all the factories are functioning, and this duck curve will not be 100% applicable for India, because this was particularly taken with California as an example. Why California was taken as an example? Because that is where most of the solar energy panels were installed. So during the daytime, what happens? The conventional energy resource starts to rise up. And during the evening time, it starts to again come down. This is the normal graph. Earlier times, this is the normal general graph. Now let us see what happens on the installation of solar energy. Now whatever I have drawn here, it is actually not the amount of energy created, it is the demand. As I told you, it is the demand we are drawing here. So the demand is lesser during the midnight time, slowly starts to increase. The daytime, it peaks up due to all the factories running, and at the evening again it starts to go down. Now let us say solar energy has been installed there. Solar energy is installed. When solar energy is installed, at the early morning, the generation of solar energy is not very high. To some extent, it is created. So the demand is the similar. The energy from the conventional part is the demand is similar. But during the midday time, the solar energy starts to peak up. So when there is a lot of solar energy, the amount of conventional energy like the coal, oil, or those things, they start to dip down, they start to reduce. And during the night time, solar energy reduces. So at that time, what happens? The demand for this convection energy peaks up, starts to peak up. So that you can see this whole graph, it gives the shape of a duck. So that is why this is called as a duck curve. Now what is the way forward here? So what is the problem because of this? So we have to know what is the problem because of this. Here, one is it causes a lot of variability. The most important problem is it causes economical loss. So how could energy, when created by solar energy, how it could cause economic loss? We all know is when lot of solar energy is created, it helps the economy. We reduce the creation of conventional energy. So this is what happens, right? So we should gain in economy. But how do we say that when solar energy is installed, it causes economical loss? That is because the conventional energy sources like oil, coal, and so on, they are profitable, they are economical when they keep on running consistently. But here what happens, During the daytime, you have to shut down all the conventional energy sources. You stop the thermal power stations. You stop the oil power stations because you have lot of energy in the solar. But during the evening, what you have to do when there is no solar energy, again you have to start all this conventional energy resources, those industries. So this will cause economical loss. This is first point. And the second one, what happens is during the daytime, when the solar energy starts to peak, when it starts to give a lot of energy outside, it could cause infrastructural damage. It could cause infrastructural damage. That is, if it is connected to the grid, when excess energy passes through the grid could overload and it could break and it could cause damage. So what happens is they fix it. They fix the amount of solar energy that is produced. So during the peak hours during the daytime, when lot of solar energy is produced, what they do is they switch off certain part of the solar energy. Some panels are switched off so that it doesn't exceed so much. Okay, so when we switch off the solar panels, it is a loss again. So you have invested so much for the solar panels. Now unnecessarily you are switching them off during the daytime only because they are producing in excess. So there it causes loss. So how to face all these things? This is what the duck curve is about. So you just understood what is the duck curve. If they ask at the most in prelims, they could ask what is the duck curve related to. So I hope you know what is it related to. In the mains, you can just mention we have to overcome this duck curve problem to have sustainable energy from the non-renewable resources. That is what you can have. You don't have to know too much about this duck curve, but without knowing what is the duck curve, you cannot answer the questions. So just know it, that's it. So what is the way forward now? So here that is where it comes about transmission and storage. If you could store the excess energy produced during the daytime and you can use it for the night, when solar energy could be used for the night time, in that case you could break this duck curve. And that is where you have the problem of storage. We already are struggling with battery power. And you can see the lithium ion batteries nowadays they are burning. That's a problem. And they are scarce as well. They are too costly. That's a problem. And what are the new batteries that are on the way, on the queue to come up? In India, we are struggling. We are facing to create this aluminum air battery, which is going to be much more efficient than lithium ion battery. There are some theoretical concepts about diamond battery, aloe vera battery, and so on. We have to wait and see whether we can store energy properly. And the next one, in the COP 26 itself, the Indian Prime Minister, he spoke about something. That is the global grid. The global grid. So in India during the daytime, when we produce immense amount of solar energy, because being a tropical country, you can think about a temperate country during the night time, they will never get solar energy. So why don't we connect the entire world as a grid? So during daytime, the excess amount of energy that is produced in countries like India, they get into the grid, they travel toward the other parts of the world where they can use it. So you can standardize the amount of conventional energy that you are going to produce. During daytime, it is the same. During the night time also, it's going to be the same. In that case, this duck curve could be overcome. So that is the idea. Now, in India's national infrastructure, it has not been designed to account for so much variability in energy generation, because since independence or even before independence, what we know is we burn coal, we produce electricity, that's it. But now population is increasing, social equity is increasing, industries are increasing, so the demand is increasing, so you cannot have the same idea. So the infrastructure has to completely change to cope up with this variability. And the grid is accustomed to consistent supply of thermal power plants, that's all, but which is opposed to the erratic generation of solar, photovoltaic, wind turbines and other renewables, because wind turbine they give erratic amount of energy during the monsoon. Solar, they give erratic amount of energy during the daytimes in summer. Other times they reduce. So they are extremes. So to cope up with the extremes, we have to differentiate or we have to expand our infrastructure. So that is the way forward. So we'll see some of the points for what can be done for the way forward in this. a demand response program in the direction, it would help address such issues. So we can go for a demand response program. So we are planned and ready. When there is an increased demand, what can we immediately do? Can we generate more solar power? Can we generate more wind power, and so on? And something else also can be done, that is lifestyle changes to reduce the energy demand. So we can make some lifestyle changes to reduce the energy demand. So an example can be taken as in Japan, they started something called as a cool biz campaign. Called as a cool biz campaign. So what is this cool biz campaign? They allowed employees to wear light and casual clothes at work instead of wearing this jackets and tie and so on, which increases the need for air conditioning. So they made a small lifestyle change. So like this, we can make some small lifestyle changes. The way we build houses. Now, I hope you have heard words like ACC blocks, clay bricks, and hollow bricks, and so many things, where they reduce the amount of heat being trapped inside the houses, so in the inside any building, so that the need for air conditioning is reducing. So such lifestyle changes can be promoted by the government. And as per the government data, India has seen record low tariffs, that is rupees 1.99 rupees per kilo hour watt solar power. In the case of wind, it is 2.43 rupees in the case of wind. So you can see how much it is cheaper when we compare it with conventional energy sources. And what is our target now? 5 gigawatt of offshore capacity by 2022, and a further of 30 gigawatt by 2030. All this is offshore. In the ocean alone, we are trying to produce 50 gigawatt by 2022. I'm sorry, 5 gigawatt by 2022 and 30 gigawatt by 2030. So this is a discussion on how we can move away from coal. In the first topic, we saw about the heat waves. And what are heat waves? All the explanation, everything we have seen in already one of our environment video classes. And if you want, you can just comment us. We will give an exclusive separate class for this heat wave alone. So what is a heat wave? When a day is declared as a heat wave, on all those convectional details, we will give as a separate video. If you people think that you want, you can just comment on the comment side. Okay. And seeing all this, see, these two topics are correlated. So there is a lot of heat wave, which means you need a lot of energy. So we have to work on both sides. We have to take control of the climate change. At the same time, we have to increase renewable energy. So from our side, simply in our lifestyle, what can we do? Simply, when you don't use electricity, when you don't need electricity in a room, when the fan is working without any need, you switch it off. We try to conserve energy as much as possible. People, particularly in India, we have an idea about thinking electricity in terms of the electricity charge. So the electricity bill will increase, so I will go and switch off the fan. This is what we think. Sometimes we take, come on, it's just 10 rupees. I don't want to be so stingy, let it run. No, we should not think the usage of electricity in terms of money, but in terms of usage of earth. I hope you know, in one of the articles and down to earth, it was said that we are using 1.8 times the earth, or 180% of the earth we are using. How can we use 180%? So by the middle of a year itself, you use all the 100% of resources of the year. So that means you are borrowing 80% of resources which are supposed to be used in the next year. You are using 1.8 times the resources in present. So which is really a tragic idea for the future generations. So if we have to overcome all this, we have to try our best. That's it. We'll try our best. So we can use energy efficiently. We people, those who study for UPSC, we mostly use laptops. So you use it when you need it. So once you finish it, you switch it off. You don't just keep it running. Just because you pay a fixed electricity bill in your hostels or in any PG or somewhere. Okay, I anyway pay a fixed amount, why should I switch it off? I have seen people thinking like this. No, and you don't think energy in terms of money, you think energy in terms of the earth you live on. So from today onwards, apart from this study purpose, in our own lifestyle itself, we shall think and implement this conserving energy as much as possible. Let us make a promise to ourselves. Okay, that's it. Thank you for today. Jai Hind. If you like the content, please share it with your friends. Let's learn and grow together.